to strengthen. Now, the Coalition Senator Bill Heffernan has just begun a press conference in that same location. We might go to that now. This is in relation to the foreign acquisition of Australian land.
Senate this afternoon we have a terms of reference to look at foreign investment, separating foreign capital from sovereign investment. And Dan, it's over to you.
Thanks, Bill. In April, there was the purchase by a Canadian-managed investment company of 252,000 hectares of prime Australian agricultural land. Now, the NFF at the time had approached the government asking whether it could be considered that it be broken down into original entitlements so family farmers could have a chance to buy that land. The government did not respond to that letter, and that is what got me worried about what was happening with regards to this issue. We have since then seen a purchase by state-owned enterprises in Victoria and New South Wales, which has doubled my concerns. So in the party room yesterday, I asked that we consider a Senate inquiry into this. That was supported. It was supported by the Senate party room. We've drawn up terms of reference for that inquiry, and we're hopeful that with the supports of the Greens that we will get that inquiry up and running. And Senator Heffernan's committee will investigate.
What talks have you had with the Greens to get them?
Well, I guess I'll take those questions. Yes, the Greens have endorsed our terms of reference. I've had a discussion with Bill Shorten today. In fact, I just said g'day to him a minute ago. I'm allowed to call him Young Bill if he calls me Old Bill. The terms of reference set this out for reporting in November. It most definitely will. You've got to set a date. It will go into next year because we want to look at the full context of what's not only happening here in terms of preserving our agricultural resource, but also in terms of in a modern communications world, in a world of high technology, in a world of corporate business, where sovereignty fits into that. And certainly when you have a case of a country like China, who by 2070 has to find 50% of its production to feed itself with 1.8 billion people from someone else's agricultural resource. They have a non-market currency, they have a sovereign fund. We much prefer to have the position where we would sell them our production rather than sell them our country. And I guess we want to look at what are the regulations and rules overseas other countries have adopted. I mean, you can't buy land in some places. We want to do everything from that to look at the importance of having foreign capital coming into Australia, but understanding the impact on Australia, understanding not only where Australia is going to be at the next damn election, where we're going to be in 50 years' time, where we're going to be in 80 years' time, and how we fit into the global food task, just remembering that by 2050, with 9 billion people on the planet, 2/3 of the world's population will live in Asia, 30% of the productive land of Asia will have gone out of production, 50% of the world's population will be poor for water, the food task will have doubled, and 1 billion people unable to feed themselves, according to the science, and 1.6 billion people on the planet could be displaced by 2070, might I say, with China with 1.8 billion people, 12 billion people on the planet, barring some sort of catastrophe. They will need to feed 50% of their population from someone else's resource. We need to have a sovereign plan, a national plan, not only to control our destiny, but also to maintain our sovereignty.
One of the other things that we need to look at is the inconsistency with how urban land is treated under the Foreign Investment Review Board and how rural land is treated. They are two distinct entities under the Foreign Investment Review Board laws, and there seems to be an inconsistency there, and I think that the family farmers deserve the same treatment as residential householders in Australia.
Do you think the committee will have to consider the issue of banning sovereign wealth funds owned by other countries from buying agricultural land?
What we have to look at is what are the facts, what's the data, and then have a look at it and make informed decisions. I think, jumping to those conclusions is not where we want to go. What we want to do is look at all the facts. We want to hear from the people on the ground. One of the things that this will do, it means the National Farmers Federation, it means the Victorian Farmers Federation and other groups can come and give evidence of what they want to see and what they would like to see happen, and then we can have an informed policy discussion and develop policy for the long term in this area.
So why why did you not back the Xenophon bill on thresholds? If this is an issue, why?
This is a much more comprehensive. This isn't a political snapshot for the next election. This is figuring where Australia is going to be in 50 or 80 years' time. This is recognising that countries that are beyond denial on the problems that are ahead of us, like China, who have set aside 200 million hectares as strategic agricultural productive land. This is understanding what the rest of the world is doing. This is not just some sort of short-term political fix.
It's going to look like that it comes after the Kofco takeover of Tully, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, there are things in progress, and certainly the takeover by foreign. There is a hell of a difference, which this inquiry will define, between sovereign investment and foreign investment. And I guess you can go along to a board meeting and sack the chairman or someone, but you'll find that a bit difficult with the government. And I have to say that Mick Kelty said 3 or 4 years ago, the greatest threat to Australia's sovereignty, no one took any notice of him at the time, I did, and got into trouble, is the impact of global displacement. And I have to say this is beyond the reach and the wit of the UN to figure this out. And I think we need to know that it might have been, it used to take 6 weeks for our cricket team to go to England in a ship to play cricket. You go there overnight now. We need to move with the times. We need to understand the sovereign protection that other countries are thinking about. There are huge slabs of land on the continent of Africa now who are from the poorer countries who are being bought up their better agricultural land, not to feed the poorer country, but to feed the country that's seeing where they're going to be in 50 years' time.
Senator, should we see some sort of suspension?
No, this isn't prompted by that. This is prompted by growing concern within the community on this issue. And if you look at the FIRB rules, they say that community concerns need to be taken into consideration. The reason why we've called this Senate inquiry is that we think the government is asleep on the wheel on this issue, that there is growing community concern, and therefore our FIRB rules need to be looked at and adjustments need to be made so the community is confident that the rules governing these purchases are sound and in Australia's national economic interest.
But isn't that exactly what Bill Shorten's doing by asking ABARES and the ABS to audit the ownership of foreign held land?
The problem is...
Could I take that? Could I take that? With great respect. I've had ABARE and ABS in estimates. I've asked them the question of what is the process, what is the model of the inquiry. It is a mishmash. It is a casual questionnaire sent out to an undetermined amount of people interested in agriculture. I asked the question estimates, what about the farmers, the miners that are buying up farming? Oh, we haven't included them. We want to be comprehensive. This isn't, for me, a political exercise. This is making sure that in 50 years' time we haven't got something to regret. This is saying to the people of Australia, do you or do you not want to sell our production, or do you want to sell our means of production to overseas? There is a huge demand coming. The global food task is being devoured by the global energy task, and it's time that we put the focus on the global food task.
Should there be some sort of suspension of sovereign investment in Australia as far as agricultural land?
Look, let's get the facts together. Let's get the facts together. Let's get an understanding for the Australian public. Rather than put the solution on the table, let's put the problem on the table, unlike the Murray-Darling inquiry where the government went out there and said, this is what we're going to do, but they didn't tell us what the problem was before they put the solution on the table.
Do you concede suspension might be useful, at least a temporary one, just to give people some breathing space?
I will leave that to greater minds than mine, but I'm chairing this inquiry. Everyone will get a fair go, and we need to consider, I mean, the furphy that somehow this is anti-foreign investment. I recognise, being a farmer, the Vesties came out here years ago and did a good job. I also recognise that a lot of foreign investment in agriculture has failed eventually, because what happens with a lot of corporate investment in farming is there's not enough profit in the system, because you've got the vagaries of the weather, which a lot of board members don't understand. You have droughts, you have all sorts of catastrophes, and to pay a bonus to the chairman and everyone else, it doesn't work. And so a lot of those companies went away with their tails between their legs. But we don't want Australia. I mean, the old meaning of talking about flying to England overnight for cricket and going there some time ago 6 weeks in a ship. I mean, the old concept of sovereignty was who had the best army, navy and air force. I mean, if you go this to the limit and we don't take any notice, we just sit on our hands, rest on our laurels and retire to the coast, you won't need an Army, Navy and Air Force. We need a strategic national plan.
Is there a scope though to broaden it just from food to natural resources such as minerals and energy?
Well, look, the reason that I asked Bill to chair this Senate inquiry is we want to look at agriculture and the agricultural sector, because that's where we think the dangers and the discrepancies are in how agricultural land and how agricultural businesses are being treated under the Foreign Investment Review Board laws. So that's where we wanted the inquiry held. It's up for others to decide what they want to do in the other sectors, but we want this to focus on the agricultural sector.
We can cover that. We've got related matters. Can I give you an example of some of the things? I set up a select committee here in Parliament 5 years ago to look at how we produce food that's affordable to the consumer, sustainable to the environment and viable to the farmer.
OK, we'll leave that there. That was Liberal Senator Bill Heffernan and Liberal MP Dan Tehan there live from Canberra, announcing a Senate inquiry into the foreign purchase of Australian land and agribusiness, saying it's been prompted by growing concern in the community. They're saying the government is asleep at the wheel on this foreign ownership issue. Bill Heffernan is guaranteeing it won't be anti-foreign ownership, but it'll be a balanced look at it. And no doubt with Bill Heffernan at the helm of that committee, it will be lively. And no doubt we'll get a reply to that from the government shortly.